Avery County Schools Spotlight on Education is brought to you by John and Hank Phillips of Avery County Tire and Service in Newland, your tire and car service specialists.
Michelin makes some of the most fuel-efficient tires on the road, so you can take the pump down. Find out how much you can save at MichelinMan.com. Michelin, a better way forward.
Avery Tire and Service has served Newland, Avery County, and the entire High Country for the last 50 years. Family owned and operated, John and Hank Phillips have put together an outstanding team of skilled personnel who can supply and fill all of your automotive and truck needs. Located in the center of Newland, Avery Tire and Service is your local supplier for Michelin tires, as well as the supplier for all the top brands for every part of your vehicle. From tires to brakes, from oil changes to any kind of car or truck service, Avery Tire and Service can do it all, and always at the very highest level of friendliness and quality. If a business has been around for 50 years, then they obviously must be the best at what they do. Avery Tire and Service in Newland, still proudly serving you and all of the High Country.
Welcome to another edition of the Superintendent Spotlight on Education in Avery County. With me today is Mr. Ken Townsend, our Personnel Director.
Hey, sir.
Ken, you do an outstanding job for us, and I want to thank you for that. But a lot of people out here might be saying, what does a Personnel Director do? If you were to give us 3 or 4 events that you take care of and problems that you solve and issues that you deal with, what would you say is some of the main things you do as Personnel Director?
Mr. Burleson, part of that is advertising positions that we may have, trying to anticipate what our positions will be coming up and maybe opening. With that, there's much more involved than just the interview process. A great deal of paperwork to prepare ahead of time. Our interviews are done by committee, so there's a lot of folks to get in touch with, a schedule to set up, to go through, those kind of things. And then, of course, the recommendation that would come to you that would then go to our board. Mm-hmm. However, it doesn't stop there once the board votes on that. There's a lot of regrets that we have to send out. Congratulations for those that got the job, plus paperwork that we process so that our payroll can start paying those folks once they're on the job. That's one thing as far as from the standpoint of interviews and hiring. Second part is we deal a lot with licensure, helping folks make sure that their license are current, looking at their CEUs when they're going to renew, those type things. So that's important also. We have folks that like to add licensure to their existing license, and so we help them find the right contacts and the right avenues to go about that. Also, with that, we end up a lot of other things from the standpoint of teacher evaluations. And we know that that has changed this past year, and with that, we've had some opportunities to explore this new program. And
you've enjoyed that tremendously.
Well, that has given me an opportunity to grow very much. It really has. But, you know, we have a fine staff as far as our administrators that are very diligent about getting our observations done, making sure that everything is done correctly. So it has been a learning process, but I feel much better at where we're at than where we started. And so as we move into our second round of observations, making sure that everything's on target with those and that everyone's being evaluated fairly and the right number of times is real important.
Ken, you mentioned evaluation and right number of times and all that. Talk to us a little bit about the rules we have to follow. It's not just something we might want to do, could do, might do. It's the law basically says we have to do certain numbers of evaluations and we do them a certain way.
Well, that's exactly right, Mr. Burleson. One of the things that's very important is that our teachers have an orientation with the new system. There's dates in there that we log into the computer so that those are there for future reference. With that, if it's a teacher that, let's say that is a career teacher right now, we try to do at least 2 snapshots in a summative each year. However, it's very different with a new teacher. Anyone within those first 4 years, they must have 4 observations, and with that, one of those observations is a peer and then a summative. So those are the guidelines that we operate by. We are monitored on that. As a matter of fact, 2 weeks ago I went to a monitoring visit, and those were one of the things that we looked for was the number of observations, the date that those observations occurred, to make sure everything is being done exactly right. So we do have guidelines with that we have to follow.
Some of us are old enough to remember that there was a time all teachers were observed 4 times with evaluations. that took a little bit of time, especially with a large staff.
Well, I think evaluations are extremely important. It's a situation that we can always look for improvement. I remember back as a teacher, I always enjoyed getting the feedback for that because, our folks that are very committed, they want to find avenues to make sure that they improve. They like the feedback on what they're doing positive, those types of things. And I think it can only improve student learning, and that's what we're all about.
Back when I started teaching was when the old career development pilot started.
Yes, sir.
And we were observed maybe too much. There was one day I had 4 people in my room doing inter-rater reliability observing me. So my students thought I was going to be fired the next day. They were on their best behavior, though.
Well, good.
They did a good job.
Good.
Ken, we might have someone out here that's saying, well, what do I do to check on job availability in Avery County, or if I want to apply? Kind of talk about the process of where we post, how we post, and how someone might go about applying for a job with us.
Certainly. First of all, if there's someone out there that would like to work in Avery County, one of the first things to do is to go ahead and send me an application. Okay, you can either do that through the mail at 775 Cranberry Street, Newland, North Carolina 28657, or you can attach it to an email, kentownsend@averyschools.net. With that, we have a folder that we keep for up to 1 year. And with that, anytime that we get the application in, we will put that in the appropriate file. When we have a vacancy in that particular area, we always go to that file, but we will always post that. We will post it on our website. If you go under employment, and then it has employment opportunities, you can click on that, and that will tell you the vacancies that we have. Our standard practice is at least 5 days, and we try to post those longer, but 5 working days. And we try to do that over a weekend, so folks have the opportunity. Weekends oftentimes a little more downtime that people might have time to look. And with that, once you find it an opening that you might be interested in, it walks you through there to go on the state website and fill out an application. At that point in time, you can contact our office. Ms. Kathy Benfield is a great asset in our office.
Yes, she is.
She does a wonderful job of working to keep me straight. But with that, she will go in and pull those applications down. And then the process from there is we will have an interview committee, which I truly believe in the committee. Mm-hmm. It's all the folks that have input or might have a buy-in to that particular job opening. And with that, we will come together as an interview committee, look through those applications, look as far as experience, those type things, and really go into that in depth to determine who we're going to interview. And then at that point in time, we will start contacting folks, and she will be working with them to set up a schedule.
Most people, when they hear school system, they think about teachers. What are some of the other positions that we hire, and we've done a lot of that in the last couple of years, but other than teaching positions?
Well, Mr. Burleson, it takes a lot to keep school system running.
Yes, it does.
And as well as you know, I've heard you say this many times, we have a number of folks that are extremely important. All of our folks are important. They're part of the process in keeping school, getting students there safe. You had talked with Brian earlier. Of course, we are, seems like always in need of bus drivers or at least substitutes.
Yeah, if you want to drive a bus, call Ken Townsend, call me, call Brian King. We're always looking for bus drivers. So
that's exactly right.
And it could be someone just says, I want to drive in the morning, I just want to drive in the afternoon, I just want to be a substitute, I want a full-time position. We'd love to hear from you.
Exactly right. Of course, we need custodians to keep our buildings clean. Oftentimes, we might be looking for someone in food services to help prepare and serve meals. We oftentimes have clerical folks that we are hiring for, and we always seem to have a large number of applicants for that. But that just kind of touches the surface on some of the folks that we look at hiring. The different skill sets, for instance, it might be an Office 1, which is typically those folks that might be answering the phone, keeping the front office area running, versus an Office 4, which might be more of a data type manager that's in the data, those kind of things. So it's a wide variety of positions that we might have.
One position that I know is very popular is teacher assistant.
Yes, sir. And
someone might be saying, I'd love to be a teacher assistant. What kind of qualifications do I need? So you might want to share a little bit about what qualifications does a person need to be hired now as a teacher assistant, because that's changed a whole lot since No Child Left Behind became the rule of the land.
Certainly. And that's what did change the rules for teacher assistant. Right now, it's either 48 semester hours or they must go through the work keys and be certified through the work keys.
Which is a test.
Which is a test.
Yeah.
Many of our folks, actually that was on staff as teacher assistants when No Child Behind came down, went through the work key process. That is still available, and so we can point folks in the right direction if they desire to take the work keys or 48 semester hours, college hours, and that can be in any field as long as they've had the 48 hours.
Big change from the past.
Certainly, and there's always changes. You know that. Each year will bring new changes and new opportunities to do things a little differently.
I like that, new opportunities, especially with this new evaluation system.
Well,
you've had a lot of opportunities, haven't you?
I kid our principals oftentimes and say, it's not a challenge but an opportunity, and
That's right.
We have a good time looking at it that way. But at the same time, it's trying to be positive because we do have some things that we need to look at and an opportunity to maybe do things a little better.
Ken, you've talked about our posting positions, keeping them up 5 days at least, the interview committee, but talk to us a little bit about checks and balances. And what I mean, you always hear, well, we knew who they were going to hire before the job was ever posted. And we really try for that, not to be the case. So talk to us a little bit about the process and the checks and balances that we all work together to make sure we do this right.
Certainly. Well, one of the things, Mr. Burleson, is when we start preparing for that, as I said, we always look to find and bring people in to be on that committee that may have a buy-in. It might be a teacher from that school, of course, the direct administrator, the principal. It might be someone in central services that maybe in some way may help supervise or has some input on that person, and typically myself. I typically sit in on those interviews. But with that, we start with first the selection of questions, and either developing questions or selecting questions that we will use. And we try to make those very pertinent to the positions that's being interviewed for. With that, when we come together as a committee, we talk through everything before the actual interviews start. Each person on the committee will have a sheet that they will be rating that particular person on. And we typically have anywhere from 8 as a minimum up to about 12, 13 max number of questions that we will be asking. Each person on that committee plays an extremely important role in that selection process. A committee typically is at least 3. We had a committee some time back that we had up to 7 because we were looking at a couple different positions. So with that, it's not a cut and dried situation. I mean, you might see someone out there that may have done a similar job in the past that, yes, they may have the experience, but at the same time, when you bring a committee together, it is a committee decision. It's not one person that supersedes the others there. So it is a democratic process that I feel is very good, and that's something we really strive to do, is to make sure that everyone coming in has that fair chance.
And I think that over time we have made the process better. We're not perfect. We always make mistakes, but we really try to look for a person who fits that position, that school, the place where they'll work. And I do know that once the committee finishes, you look over it, make sure they meet all the criteria, pass that along to me, I look at it, and then we pass it along to the board. So the board makes the final decision. I hope everyone understands that. They hire, they terminate, but there's a lot goes into it. So.
There's an extreme amount of effort that does go into that, and it's not, like you said, not one person's choice, but there's a lot of folks involved, and I do like that process because any time that you can put 2 heads together, it's much better than one.
Exactly. And Ken, as we're wrapping up here, if there's a young person that's watching out there that's maybe going into teaching, want to teach, what would you say to that person real quickly to get them to think about coming to Avery County to teach in our school system?
Well, this is my 25th year in Avery County, Mr. Burleson, and the folks in Avery County are extremely wonderful to work with. We've had great leadership and continue to have that now under your direction, and also at the school level. We have very good principals that are dedicated to students. With that, of course, we have our laptop initiative, and that's something that we're all very proud of. But Avery County is a wonderful place to work. It's good folks that care about children, and with that, we welcome new applicants. There's certain different areas that we're looking for. We don't have as much turnover as some school systems because Avery County is a great place to work.
Yeah, we have one of the lowest turnover rates in the state.
Certainly.
Because once you come to Avery County, you don't want to leave. But if you're looking for a great place to work with outstanding people in one of the best communities in the world, think about Avery County. Call Ken Townsend, and we'd love to talk to you. Ken, thank you for the job you do. We appreciate your hard work and efforts.
Thank you, sir.
Avery County Schools Spotlight on Education is brought to you by John and Hank Phillips of Avery County Tire and Service in Newland, your tire and car service specialists.
Michelin makes some of the most fuel-efficient tires on the road, so you can take the pump down. Find out how much you can save at michelinman.com. Michelin, a better way forward.
Avery Tire and Service has served Newland, Avery County, and the entire High Country for the last 50 years. Family owned and operated, John and Hank Phillips have put together an outstanding team of skilled personnel who can supply and fill all of your automotive and truck needs. Located in the center of Newland, Avery Tire and Service is your local supplier for Michelin tires, as well as the supplier for all the top brands for every part of your vehicle. From tires to brakes, from oil changes to any kind of car or truck service, Avery Tire and Service can do it all, and always at the very highest level of friendliness and quality. If a business has been around for 50 years, then they obviously must be the best at what they do. Avery Tire and Service in Newland, still proudly serving you and all of the High Country.